All right, so somebody, this is such a stupid premise for a video. Someone in my Discord server said that No Man's Wharf is a bad level, and I don't want to dog on them because this is totally a subjective thing. However, I think this is a wonderful opportunity to explain why I love Dark Souls 2. The level design is probably my favorite in the series, definitely above Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 level design is my least favorite, but oh my god, that's so loud. Okay, I turned up the game because I haven't had the volume on for a while because I've just been grinding out, clearing all the areas. But this is a great time to do this. Um, so I am a little bit higher level than you would probably be expected to be here. However, that's fine because this is an optional area. And I just want to point out, a lot of people say that uh, Dark Souls 2 has a lot of like unavoidable ambushes or whatever. Why is that specific sound effect so loud? What the hell? Oh god. Okay, so that's actually a wonderful example of exactly what I want to point out. So that guy, it looked like he just kind of appeared out of nowhere, but when you're coming up here, before he climbs up, he actually is where this message is, and people leave messages like that to point out things like that, right? Point out traps and help new players. But even outside of that, it's really obvious that there's an enemy hanging there, and I didn't kill him because honestly, I don't know what was going through my brain because I definitely knew he existed. um, but there is not a single instance in which, oh god, you would actually need to be ambushed. Um, deal with certain enemies, or multiple enemies at the same time, sure. But there is not a moment in this level where you're going to be forced to be ambushed, even with the Darkstalkers and not carrying a torch. Though, to be honest, I probably should grab a torch, just for the true experience of the level. It's been a very long time since I've gone through this level slowly. I don't think I've gone through this level like this since I played this game for the first time, actually. Was that Vengarian the one, did they just drop down and come in? I didn't know they could do that. I have a bow. Again, that's entirely on me for not dealing with the enemy that was right in front of me. You can avoid all ambushes as long as you're paying attention. Um, I heard this dog, so obviously I'm not going to get caught off guard by the dog. Um, though even if I hadn't heard it, that is very easy to see if you're actually being methodical, unlike what I'm doing right now. So like, you can see multiple enemies in there, right? You're not just going to waltz in there without paying attention. And like again, they're all gonna aggro on you. You're gonna have to fight multiple enemies at once. But Dark Souls 2 teaches you how to do that. I'm even using the rapier, which isn't a weapon that's viable for crowd control. This is a one enemy weapon, right? And I'm using it because I'm clearing out all the enemies, and it's one of the best weapons that you can get this early in the game. Primarily because I don't know where the Mastodon Halberd is. Like, see, you can clearly see this guy up here. He's not gonna drop down behind me randomly. I didn't even know he was up there. That wasn't something that I remembered. I just happened to see that on my way in. And I'm not gonna say that if you don't like Dark Souls 2 level design, you have a skill issue, because there are things to dislike about this, right? Um, you can dislike that the primary method of traversing these levels is being perceptive, right? Um, like in Dark Souls 3, you don't need to be perceptive at all, because if you are, you're still going to get ambushed, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the idea in Dark Souls 3 is to overcome that ambush rather than outsmart it. Um, and that is a very, like, preferring that is totally valid, and I understand that completely. But saying Dark Souls 2 is bad because it doesn't do that is absurd, especially because you can easily avoid all ambushes by just looking around corners a little bit. A lot like Dark Souls 1, actually. Oh god. Um, Also, another thing that people complain about that I just want to point out here, because I do really like Dark Souls 2, is people disliking ADP. Is there nothing up here? Okay. Anyway, people disliking ADP. I've never understood that, because, like, first of all, it encourages, because of it, or not necessarily because of it, but with it existing, the leveling curve is completely different. Um, yeah, see, this guy's not going to ambush me. He's not going to randomly drop down behind me without me seeing. Unless I'm not being perceptive. What was I going on about? Oh yeah, the leveling curve with ADP existing means that you can put more levels into like endurance, so you can use a shield better, right? It also encourages focusing on positioning more. This is a perfect place to use my bow that I actually haven't touched at all through this entire playthrough. Oh god. Like, see, again, I'm not getting ambushed here. There are just 3 enemies. And I have to deal with them like, it's a gank fight, absolutely. And Dark Souls 2 is full of those. But it teaches you how to deal with them. And I love it. It's so much fun. It also gives you tools. Like, it literally gives you a bow as soon as you find a way to upgrade your weapon. Um, so I don't know. There just are so many complaints that people have about Dark Souls 2 that don't make any sense at all to me. Okay. See, I got hit by this dog because I just wasn't paying attention. That one was completely on me. um, and once again, like, getting ambushed like that is way harder to deal with. Like, once you're actually ambushed, you're going to have a worse time than if you actually get ambushed in Dark Souls 3. But that's because Dark Souls 3 is built around being ambushed. You're supposed to be ambushed like that, right? There's no way to avoid being ambushed through the entire game. So the game is built expecting you to be ambushed several times. Dark Souls 2 is built in a way that expects you to avoid being ambushed at all times. Ouchie. I'm gonna go ahead and heal and then use a bow. And I could have also just run up this way and not dealt with them while dealing with the other enemies. I could have ran this way, gone up and killed them on their own before running down to fight those other enemies. But instead, I took down the enemies down there because I was confident in my skill level to be able to do that, which is also known as hubris. What the? I guess the rapier also does let me use the shield, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Dark Souls 2, or that's exactly what I was talking about with the whole, like, ADP situation. Oh god. Dark Souls 2 plunging attacks aren't great. I will fully admit that. They're not quite as precise as I would want them to be. And I just want to point out one more time, I will not hamper on this too much more, but I have not been ambushed once outside of my own hubris. um, Again, you will have to deal with multiple enemies, but you have to... Oh my god, that scared the... Okay. But you have to deal with multiple enemies in Dark Souls 1 and 3 as well. It's just the way that it expects you to do that and the way that you're getting into those situations is different. Oh, hey. Shields are very useful for first-time players also. If you are a first-time player or haven't played Dark Souls 2, I would highly recommend using a shield. I would say that for all the games, though. Just like when you're learning the areas, it's very nice to have a shield to be able to go into areas and not worry about randomly being attacked like that. Not randomly, but not having to worry about rolling out of the way of attacks you don't expect or whatever. Sorry about that. Just disrupting their nap. Dark Souls 2 isn't a perfect game. I feel like I shouldn't need to point that out. It doesn't need to be perfect to enjoy it. Like, those enemies were just kind of floating after I broke the chair under them, right? Dark Souls 2 is not a perfect game. The backstab animation not giving you invulnerability is really annoying sometimes. On top of, like, grab animations being really weird, like the Pursuers or Sorolans. But people complain about the hitboxes when it's always just the animations that are the problem. I don't know. I'm a Dark Souls 2 apologist, and I always will be. I love Dark Souls 2. I don't know what this guy is doing. Again, not a perfect game. But it's still really fun. And the things that people complain about aren't actually the problem. Um, I'm going through and like clearing out all the areas of all the enemies and completely despawning all of them. So I'm gonna have to go through and kill all these enemies anyway. And that's, again, part of why I wanted to do this now. This isn't gonna replace my weekly upload. I'm still gonna do a challenge run video this week. I believe if I open the store, I'm gonna... Really? That's actually so surprising that it doesn't attack you until... Why do people hate this level? In the Huntsman's Cops, when you'll get attacked while you're opening the door. I'm genuinely surprised that that didn't happen here. Ouch. And crowd control is just kind of something that you need to teach yourself. But Dark Souls 2 does give you opportunities to learn it. Scholar, rather, gives you opportunities to learn that. Vanilla, not so much. But people like Vanilla more than Scholar, and I do not understand why. This is Scholar, by the way. I own Vanilla, and I've played Vanilla once or twice, but I don't know. I just prefer Scholar. And see, because I was attacked at the last door, I am primed to be attacked now. Probably fine. I should have gotten repair powders. This is the greatsword, right? I should have used the greatsword. I'm probably still going to use the Mastodon halberd. Is this a mimic? I don't actually know what the tell for mimics is in this game. I usually just put my camera between the player and the chest. Oh, it's one of these. And then if it goes through, it's a mimic. If it doesn't go through, then it's a real chest. This is the wall that gets broken through, right? No? I remember there being a wall that gets broken through here. Anyway. Dark Souls 2 is the only game that actually uses the durability mechanic in an interesting way. Dark Souls 1 does it in a unique way. And I do really like how Dark Souls 1 has like the special abilities on weapons that consume durability instead of like magic or whatever. I think that's really fun, and I really, really like that. But Dark Souls 2 is the only one where durability actually matters for all weapons. Because Dark Souls 3, the durability is way too high. I've never had a problem with durability in Dark Souls 3. But in Dark Souls 2, I've actually had instances where my weapon was about to break or whatever. Yeah, see, you can clearly see these guys just hanging here. That's what was happening, or that's what happened at the very beginning when I got attacked from behind. I'm gonna go open the shortcut. This is the one instance that I would call an ambush, but it's also one enemy that's really easy to deal with. So, I don't know, that doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I probably should have gotten that door. Oh, there's another one? Actually, I didn't know there was another one. I don't know where this one comes from. Is it just sticking to the wall? Huh. Anyway, I like No Man's Wharf. Dark Souls 2 is really good. It has really, really good level design. And No Man's Wharf is my favorite example of how good the level design actually is. And a lot of people dislike it, and I will never understand why. I hope that my sort of walkthrough through No Man's Wharf today has given you a new lease on Dark Souls 2, and that if you don't like the game, or when you played it last you didn't like it, that you give it another try. Because this game is genuinely incredible. I prefer it to Dark Souls 3 in pretty much every way. Outside of, like, I don't know. Dark Souls 3 does have better, like, sound design, and, like, game feel, I guess. Dark Souls 3 is incredible game feel. But Dark Souls 2 just has so many qualities that Dark Souls 1 and 3 don't have, especially 3, that I just adore it. I love Dark Souls 2 so much. You can backstab these guys? That's crazy. So that was going to be the end of the video. However, I decided it was probably worth looking at vanilla, because I know a lot of people prefer vanilla. I played through the forest, hides, and then a little bit of the bestie. And after doing that, I really don't understand why people prefer vanilla. There are so many areas that it's just like there's nothing here. What's the point? Why is this here? Um, anyway, I played vanilla once ever, and I do not remember anything. So this will be a lot more blind than my scholar exploration of this. There is one part of all of vanilla that I've experienced so far that I do think was better, and it was that it was that one part where there's that stone sword that you like walk up to get an item, and then an enemy is dropped from behind, right? In Scholar, there is just the item. You go up, grab it, and then four like normal infantry drop down on top of you, or not on top of you, but like onto that sword, and they're pretty easy to deal with. It's not really a big deal. But in vanilla, there is one soldier at the end of it. As you bait the soldier, usually another soldier will fall from where the uh, infantry were in Scholar, right? And I do think that's better because it's not you're going to be more cautious because there's an enemy this time, right? So you'll probably be expecting more. I don't know. The point is, uh, Scholar is better than vanilla, and I don't understand why people prefer vanilla. A lot of people in my Discord seem to prefer vanilla too, and I really do not understand why. A lot of the Souls tubers I've seen talk about the game say they prefer vanilla. The only person, or the only anyone I know of that says they don't say they have a preference, but they have only played Scholar that I've seen is Yasmania, and he's kind of like the Dark Souls 2 guy. Yasmania is really good content. Highly recommend. Anyway, I'm much more of like a level that you would expect in this area because I haven't been working on killing every single enemy. So instead of being level 60 or whatever, I'm level 40. But I do have a +5 rapier. Not +6 because, Dull Ember for some reason in this one is in the Iron Keep. Like, huh? You expect me to go without infusing till the Iron Keep? What is that? That's absurd. But, sorry, no, wait. Vanilla is way better, I guess. Um, one thing that I... What the... Jesus. One thing that I do like, or a lot more about Scholar that I mentioned earlier, there are so many more enemies in Scholar. So as you go through it, it like teaches you to deal with ambushes. I do like the torch guy here in Scholar because he teaches you, hey, you should probably have a torch to like navigate this area easier. Um, there being that guy like aggroing from so far away is really weird. The Dark Lurker or whatever they're called. No, Dark Lurker. I have no idea what they're called. They have a name, and I read it a little bit ago, but I really do not remember what they're called. It doesn't matter. You get the point. Is that a dog? Why is there a dog here? I wish I had a +6 instead of a +5. Oh my god. Counter damage. Oh yeah. I don't know. Again, nothing up here. Dark vanilla feels so much more unfinished because there are so many spots that it looks like there would be an item in or an enemy or something. Like this. Like there's nothing there. What? Unless it aggroed when I was coming up earlier. I don't know. It just feels way more unfinished than Scholar because Scholar does have items in those spots, or enemies or whatever, right? And I know a lot of people think that makes Scholar feel bloated or like there's too much going on. But for me, it just makes the game feel more finished, and it makes the combat encounters more, I mean, better generally, in my opinion. Um, like I don't know, it feels like there should be an enemy there, and it makes sense that they put one there in Scholar. There are also a lot of really weird, like unnecessary changes that they did make in Scholar, which I will totally admit. My favorite example being the fact that they moved Alicia, I think her name is, the miracle lady that has the Rotunda Lockstone. They moved her a little bit closer to the edge in Scholar. I don't know why. That doesn't make sense. But like in the hallway just before the wharf, there's like that little I don't even know what to call it. The little alcove in one of the walls that just has, there are two of them that just have nothing. There's literally nothing there. But in Scholar, one of them has the Cyan Knight guarding it, and then one of them has uh, the. Actually, I don't think the other one has anything. But still, like the fact that one of them has something and the other doesn't, like, I don't know. Am I alone in this? I don't think I am. Like, I know there are other people who prefer Scholar, which is the correct opinion to have. But I just don't understand why you would prefer vanilla at all. I'll have to go back through the messages after. Like, I know I've only played a tiny bit of vanilla. I know I've only played, like, what? Not even an eighth of the game. But it feels so much less. Not lesser, just like literally less. There's less happening. There's less to do. There's less going on. The dull ember being an Iron Cape is unforgivable, though. I will not stand for that. That's absurd. Like, again, you just expect me to never infuse ever. Despite that being a core mechanic of, like, building in this game. I don't know. I understand why people like Dark Souls, or dislike Dark Souls 2 now after starting with vanilla. Like, if you started your experience with Dark Souls 2 with vanilla, you're probably gonna dislike this game a lot more. I don't know. I guess, like, H Bomber guy started with vanilla, and he prefers vanilla, and I don't know. This level is still good. Like, Dark Souls 2, vanilla is a good game. Oh, hey, Goblin's here. Why is he here? Weird. That explains a message in Scholar. Anyway, um, Dark Souls 2 vanilla is a good game. Dark Souls 2 Scholar is really good. Oh god, no! Skill issue. These things are called Varangians? I thought it was Vengaria. Oh god. That's okay. Like, I know I said Dark Souls 2 vanilla is worse, and I do think it is worse. However, that is a perfect example of what this game tries to teach you constantly, is that you need to be vigilant. You need to pay attention. You need to understand that when you go around a corner, there's probably going to be an enemy, if not multiple. If you go into a small confined room, there will probably be an enemy coming behind you, and you need to understand, you need to look around to not be cornered in those situations, right? So as much as I am dogging on vanilla, it's still a good game. I still love Dark Souls 2. Also, there's no shortcut in vanilla, which is really messed up. Just rude, really. Oh god. That's another thing that's like, that feels unfinished about vanilla, the fact that there's no shortcut here back to the beginning of the level when there is in Scholar, and that feels like how the level was originally intended to be designed. Are there any illusory walls in here? Doesn't seem like it. Like, that's just a theme with vanilla. It feels unfinished. Somebody made a video, and I keep getting recommended it. It's called Dark Souls 2 Scholar the First Sin, How to Ruin a Good Game. And I so badly want to make either a response or just like my own video called Dark Souls 2 Scholar the First Sin, How to Make a Good Game Great. And I haven't watched that video, and I know I'm going to need to if I make that video, because I would have to respond to the points they made in that video. But it's just like, I know the points are going to be, oh, they added more enemies, or oh, they removed the Hide Knights, because that's what all videos defending or dogging on Scholar the First Sin are. Every single one. Oh, there is a shortcut. Wow, that shortcut sucks. That's a really bad shortcut. Like, I know that shortcut is there in Scholar, but this is the only shortcut here. There's not the bridge that you push down in Scholar, right? Like, that's... Wow, okay. I forgot that shortcut was there. That's really bad is the only shortcut. I guess, the boss here isn't exactly difficult, but it's definitely not, like, an easy boss if it's one of your first Souls bosses, right? This being one of my first Souls bosses. Anyway, you get the idea. This is a really, really good level in a really, really good game that people seem to just like misunderstand. Also, why did all the hanging guys get moved to right here, huh? Or, I mean, why are they all right here? It does feel like they should be spread around. That feels like something that should be introduced early on and not only shown at the very end of the level. It's like, yeah, Scholar is way, way better. And I understand why people don't like Dark Souls 2 if they started with vanilla, but like, this is a good level. This is a good Souls level, I guess I should clarify. Because in terms of like game design generally, there are conventions here that wouldn't really work in an on-Souls like, but because this is a Souls-like and the level is built around that, and it expects you to explore and be perceptive and understand that you'll probably be ambushed if you're not careful. Like, it's just a really, really good level to teach that, especially for how early this is in the game. It is optional too, so even if you don't like it, you can just skip it, which I feel like goes to a point in the game's favor. Also, there being no jailer or whatever, the like pyromancer guys with the great machete, the fact that this doesn't have any of them, I think that's what the weapon is called. I like that Scholar added one because this comes from the Bastille, right? Or rather, it takes you to the Bastille, and those guys come from the Bastille. I think that's a really cool little touch. Nice world building. Yeah, I don't know. Scholar is better. Vanilla is good. Um, this is one of the best levels in the game. Probably one of my favorites, actually. All right. Wow, good damage. +5 too. This game, vanilla also, like, there are a lot of instances where it looks worse. Or Majula is actually a good example. Oh, what the? Oops. Vanilla, or Majula is a good example of areas that just look worse in vanilla. Like the mud textures look so weird. Um, but also, like the lighting here, the lighting in vanilla is generally worse from what I've noticed. Like it's so much brighter. But the lighting here looks incredible. Like on the way it's shining off of the boss. I don't know. That just looks really, really good. Owie. Oh. Stop it. Getting greedy. There we go. Anyway, that's all I have to talk about with the last Bastille. Or, sorry, the No Man's Wharf. I really like Dark Souls 2. I think it's really fun. Especially this level. And I don't know, this game's design philosophy is carried over from No Man's Wharf, but No Man's Wharf I think is the most shining example of what makes a level in Dark Souls 2 so good. Um, as long as you're not playing it as if it's Dark Souls 1. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I love you all, and I especially want to thank White Flame, Harrison Briggs, Algebra, The Dire Gay, Funny Guy 619, Falcon, Nikki P. Jones, SD, 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 SSD, SD, XDD, Manarok, V, Emily, and Ryan Rickard for supporting the channel. I don't know how to end this.